Hey everyone, Pete Calandra here. Today's video will be taking a look at Spitfire Audio's Abbey Road 2 Iconic Strings library. We'll be focusing in on the Ensemble-Long articulations in this video. For this video, what I did was compose some short passages for each of the articulations, and then we explore taking them through the different mic treatments and the different reverbs that are available inside of the plugin. At the end of the video, I'll give you some of my thoughts on the library. There'll be timestamps in the description box below so that you can navigate through this at your own pace. As an aside, I can't help being a college educator, and there are a few spots in the video where I've done some harmonic work on the passages, and I do a quick analysis and explain what I'm doing there, and hopefully for those of you that don't know that material, it will be beneficial to you. There'll be timestamps in the description box below so you can navigate through this at your own pace. If you like this video, give a thumbs up. For more content, please subscribe, and to be notified, ring that bell. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get right into it. The first of our ensemble articulations we'll be talking about are the long flautandos, and at this point, everybody should know what flautandos are. They're in almost every Spitfire string library. For this, let's take a look at our mic positioning. So here I'm using LCR2, which are 3 Chandler Red 47 Omni mics in an LCR formation, left, center, right. And I've got Studio 2, plate, 3 seconds. I've got a fair amount of it on here. We'll take a listen to the hall reverb as well with this. As far as the multi-voice goes, I've just got this set to the factory default. If you watch Paul Thompson's demo of this, you can see that these are easily changeable. Here we go. Let's take a listen, and then I'll actually talk a little bit about the music on this. Beautiful, it's very warm. One thing I'm interested in though is let's take a look here and let's change the mic position away from those. I think those must be tube microphones, and let's just go to our mix 2, which will have some ribbon mics in it and be a little bit further away and have more of the room in it. And let's take a listen to how that sounds, because I think that there's some miking techniques can actually make the sound too thick depending upon how you're voicing your chords. So let's take a listen to this one. That's definitely warmer, less high end, but it also has less mid-range in it, I think, as well. It sounds nicer. Let's add a little bit more reverb onto that. Let's go to the large hall and let's drench it. This is something that I find I have to do with a lot of the ensemble patches, is just scoop out a little bit around 500. Let's actually leave that meter open and change the microphones and see if it looks any different. I'll bypass this for now. And here we go. have to change my opinion looking at the facts. There's more mid-range in this second in mix 2. Let's take a listen to mix 2 with a little bit of this EQ in. You can really hear how it just cleans up some of that mid-range honk and makes it a little bit more clear, but doesn't make it harsh. So just a tiny little scoop. And I find this with ensemble patches from every manufacturer. It's not just Spitfire audio. I find it with Cine samples. I find it with orchestral tools, with 8DO. All right, let's take a quick look at the music here. Let me just talk about this. I can't not be a teacher. This is using mostly 4-voice textures, right? And we start off with just a single tone, and I start doing a reverse pyramiding of entering voices. So we start off with the E, then I add in the A, so that's an open fifth, and then remember, I've got these videos on intervallic harmony, and that's a lot of the way I think about some of this stuff. And then, so I've got an open fifth, and below that, I add an open fourth, right? And then the resulting texture here is C, F, A, and this E actually hangs over. It's just not showing here. Pro Tools notation, thank you. This is an F major seventh in root position, and then you take the second note from the top and you drop it down an octave, and that's called drop 2, as many of you know, I'm sure. And then I just am moving things around by step. I take that third, move it down a half step to the A flat, and that gives us a minor chord with a major seventh. Move the top voice down a whole step, and that gives us a D minor seventh with a flat 5, and with the seventh in the bass this time. Just following that pattern all the way through with these drop voicings. And then once we get over to this last 3 measures or 4 measures, I want to talk about this for a second. If we look here in the right hand, we'll see that I've got this little stepwise motion here, and then the stepwise motion gets transferred up to the top voice and then back into the alto voice. Alto, soprano, alto. I'm not talking about pitch registers. I'm just talking about, we've got 4-note chords here and SATB. I've got these open fifths in the bottom, C and G, going to F and C, and then back down. And basically above that, I've got a B and a C, and the resulting simultaneity is a C major 7th chord, but it's spread out. And the way I approach that major 7th is stepwise. So I get that sharp 5, the A flat, which is really a G sharp, and I get that rub against the G in the bottom there. The moving voice is just the stepwise motion up to the B, and I've got that A flat, A, and B, and that's A flat, which is really a G sharp, rubs against the G here, but I'm going to resolve that quickly. And then I transfer that up to the soprano voice. And that's a technique that if you do some experimenting around with, you can employ in all different ways. Let's move on to our next articulation. For this articulation, we're looking at just the straight long, and the mic position we're using is mix 2, a mix with more room formed of the close ribbons, LCR2, stereo mid, and ambience. We're going to have just a little bit more room in this, and I'm starting again with Studio 2, plate 4 seconds, and then maybe we'll play around with the large hall on this. Now, I played this in free time, so we're not going to be looking at any notation for this. And what I will say before we listen to this is that after playing this in, I got my idea in. What I would probably do is go to the individual instruments and spread this out amongst them. In this area here, this might be cellos and basses, or just bass, and then the cello comes in, and then the viola adds to the cello, and then maybe our 2 violins. Then we have these chords here, which will end up sounding like an ensemble. So let's take a listen. One thing I've noticed with the ensemble patches is changing the intensity of the vibrato is not as obvious as it is with the individual instruments. I'm not quite sure why that is. Yeah, I'm playing it back and forth with my slider, and you can hear it, but it's very subtle. Let's take a change of ambience here, and let's go to our hall, the large hall. Okay. One thing I want to talk about here musically, I'm not going to change to or notation because it's not in time, it'll just look really strange, is that I've got these chords set up so that I've got a cluster of 4 notes, 5 notes here, right down here, and they're pretty close position. And then I've got an interval between that and the melody note. And what that allows you to do is have the melody note be more present. Right? So if we listen here, we can easily hear the top line. I'll mute the top line and then we'll hear that without it. And we'll put the top line back in. Again, just another technique of voicing chords. I find that when I'm playing piano, if you've got a really close bunch of notes with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th finger of your right hand, it's really hard to make your 5th finger and your 4th finger really ring out as the melody. But if you leave a little space between the notes when you're voicing your chords, it's much easier to make that top line sing out. And that same technique can be applied to voicing chords for orchestral instruments as well. Our next articulation is long Sul Tasto, and on this one we're using our vintage 1, which is using Abbey Road's red desk parallel compression from the RS-124, and it's all passed through the J37 tape machine, much like things would have been recorded in the 1960s at Abbey Road. Let's take a listen. All right, a nice sound, really beautiful. Let's take a change of perspective, and we'll just go to mix 2 this time. What I like about this is that it still sounds like a chamber group, and the lines are very detailed. You can hear the lines that I'm doing, especially on the bottom part of the voicings here. Another little trick I'd like to talk about here is on the last 2 chords here. And this is a trick I got from Earl Garner. So you've got D flat and A flat, and then you want to end on a D flat triad. Approach it from a half step below. And Earl did this famously in Misty. Right, he doesn't move the soprano voice up to an E flat there, but that's a D triad over an E flat to a G minor triad over an E flat, which is an E flat major seventh. You can take stuff that you learn from other people and incorporate it into your own writing very easily. Immature artists borrow, mature artists steal. My friend Larry Rivers had a piece of artwork that he did with that on it that I used to look at whenever I was at his house. Okay, let's move on to our next articulation. And on this ensemble articulation, we've got the long Sul Ponticello, and let's take a look at our, yes, so we're using Vintage 2, which is the same as Vintage 1, except we're going to be double tracking it, right? ADT. And if you want to learn about the history of some of these techniques, like the ADT, a great resource is the Beatles recording sessions by Mark Lewison. Very steely sounding. Let's take a listen to this in some other registers. I'll just play some stuff in and you'll be able to take a listen. And I'll be playing with one hand and using the mod and expression with my other hand. Let's take a listen to this passage, and let me change the perspective. Let's go to this LCR 1. Let's try that, because that's, yeah, there we go. And we will change the reverb to the large hall, pump it up a little, and let's take a listen to the effect of that. There are 3 other articulations in the longs: trills major second, trill minor second, and tremolo. Let me reduce the reverb on those so we can hear them. I'm just going to play stuff in. These are effects, and they're useful, totally useful, but I didn't feel like writing a little piece using trills and tremolo. So I'm just going to be playing stuff in for each articulation from the keyboard. I'll do one hand playing and operate the mod and expression with my other hand. Here we go. Let me bring the reverb up. That is a nice hall reverb they've got. Let's do the minor second. And that's a look at Spitfire Audio's Abbey Road 2 Iconic Strings Library, the long articulations for ensembles. My opinion on this is that this is actually kind of very useful as a chamber ensemble. Having all those mic positions, all those mic treatments really can change the actual character and the emotional content of music you'll write with this. I have a wish list that there would be consordino articulations in the future, and hopefully that they'll do that. Spitfire has been very good about updating and adding content to their libraries. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them down below. Again, if you like this video, give a thumbs up. For more content, please subscribe, and to be notified, ring that bell. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every view I get on these videos. I've been Pete Calandra, and I'll catch you on the next one.